Hi, I'm Joanna Fantozzi, Senior Editor with Nation's Restaurant News, and I'm here with Tonya McCoy, VP of Marketing with Angry Chicks. Welcome.
Hi. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely excited to have you here. What are you excited to see at RLC and learn about at RLC this year?
Well, there's a lot of innovation. The industry is always changing, but really it's about seeing some old friends, meeting some new friends, seeing what they're doing that's working, what we're not doing that we could leverage some of those ideas for.
Yeah. And so the last we spoke, well, not us specifically, this is the first time we're chatting, but the last you spoke to NRN, you guys won were one of the Hot Concepts winners for last year's class of Hot Concepts. And so what has been happening since then? That was last fall.
It's been a whirlwind. So we're launching in Texas next week, Houston. First location in Texas. That's really exciting. Really building out our catering program, working on our digital innovation. We have all kinds of great stuff. It's been a whirlwind. I have such a great team. The Angry Chicks leadership team is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And something that is always interesting to me with hot chicken is that it's such an exciting, I feel like, category right now, but very busy category, lots of competitors. And so I guess what's the secret, obviously in marketing, et cetera, what is the secret to standing out in such a hot and exciting category?
Well, so first, our food is our superstar. We have Angry Mac. Our tenders are phenomenal. If you ever get the opportunity to go to an Angry Chicks, I would highly recommend it. So it's the food, the experience, our culture, everything that kind of plays into that. That's what makes us unique.
And so you mentioned some innovation, and I am the tech reporter, so I got to ask about what is the digital innovation that you guys are working on right now?
Online ordering. So we're working on an app. We're considering loyalty and what that really means to us. Building out our digital social platforms more so than they have been lately.
Yeah, so there's a lot of decisions to be made here. Maybe you'll make some connections here to help along with that. What goes into that, I guess, decision making to figure out what works for the Angry Chicks brand?
Well, for us, everything we do has to go back to who we are. So we try to stay very authentic for our guests. And then just evaluating that tech stack and really kind of how we need everything to work internally and how it will work best for not just us, but our guests. And a lot of that goes into every decision that we make.
And so you mentioned that you're expanding into Texas. And so that is, I'm guessing, a new market. And so how do you decide what is the best market for Angry Chicks to go next?
So a lot of it is based on the feedback that we're getting from our current customers. So most of our restaurants are in California. We have Arizona, one in Las Vegas. The feedback that we're getting from them, and it's been really crazy how it's taken off. So from a brand awareness standpoint, we have our social platforms and our followers. They talk to us all the time. They tell us where they want us to be, but then we also look at demographics and kind of what's going on in terms of competitive in some of these other markets. So we're also looking at the Midwest, the Southeast. Real estate is a very important component of that. I mean, these days we're all fighting for a location, so.
And I feel like Texas is such a hotbed of hot chicken right now. I feel like there's probably a lot of competition there, but so I like that you mentioned social media and how you can use social media to kind of like gauge what your customers want. Could you tell me, I guess, a bit more about that and kind of what you've learned from, I guess, social media marketing?
Our fan base is a very loyal fan base, and they talk to us all the time. So we're able to really kind of gauge what's going on based on where our followers are coming from and what they're saying about us.
And I guess, like, what have you kind of learned from that? What does the customer want?
Angry Mac. They always want Angry Mac, but locations. I mean, if you're not in California or Las Vegas or here in Phoenix, you don't get to experience Angry Chicks unless you're visiting a friend or on vacation. So really just growing the brand is our next big step, but we're also being very cautious about how we do that. So we're not just about opening restaurants. We want to make sure that we have the right franchisees in place, that they believe in what we're trying to do and that they can fit into that Angry Chicks culture, which is something that we're all very protective of.
And about how many locations do you have now?
We have 28 open locations. Next week we'll have 29.
Okay, very exciting. And is that in Texas or where is that one?
Next week is in Houston.
Okay, very exciting. And I guess like, how do you figure out when you're in new markets? How do you figure out how to introduce like Texans to the brand?
So the biggest deal is, I mean, obviously brand awareness. So how do we get that brand awareness? A lot of times we're pushing it on digital. We have such a great following that a lot of our current customers have relatives or friends in other states, and they share our message, they talk about it. Really that word of mouth, getting that community involvement up front. A lot of brands will open a restaurant, not necessarily do the outreach beforehand. And we really try to get the community involved early on, like 60 to 90 days out.
Yeah. And so that kind of reminds me of something that we've been talking about a lot lately at NRN is working with influencers. And so is that something you guys have considered? I don't know, like micro influencers or regional ones or?
Yeah, so we do work with some influencers. Usually we time that based on what we're trying to do. So it's been pretty successful. We'll still develop out that plan some as we move forward.
Yeah, I feel like social media marketing has just evolved so much to include things like influencers, to include things like working on different platforms, and I feel like it's probably, I don't want to speak for you, but it probably has become a lot more of your job maybe than it was like 5-10 years ago.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Digital is a much bigger portion of what we do now than it was back in, 10, 15 years ago when the easy thing to do would just be put some TV on, buy some radio time. Now, really to capture that market that we're trying to capture them on, it has to be digital and it has to be more personal than it was before.
Yeah. I think that's something that we hear all the time. That's the anthem of everything lately, whether it's technology, marketing, et cetera, is personalized and customized.
Right.
And so how do you, I guess, think about how to make things personal and custom through digital marketing?
Well, so the biggest thing is we really try to focus on who that target guest is and then speak to them like we would speak to them as a friend. So we're not talking to 100,000 people, we're talking to one person. And what is it that we can say to that one person that is going to get them, one, interested in coming to Angry Chicks or to tell a friend about us? Mm-hmm. And that's really what it's all about, is connecting with one person, not connecting with a large group of people.
Yeah. And you also mentioned deciding whether to launch an app. I think that's really interesting because that is a conversation I have with a lot of emerging brands of your size, deciding whether or not to launch an app. And it's split, I will say, whether or not people feel like, we're not big enough to have that, we don't have enough resources, or we really need that to be able to connect digitally with our customers. And so how'd you guys come across that decision?
Well, we're still making that decision.
Yeah.
So, do we need an app? Do our customers say that they would use an app? Yes. Are they already using our website or a third-party delivery platform to place orders? Yes. Will an app help us with loyalty? Absolutely. So I think we're looking at the app more from a loyalty standpoint than anything else.
Yeah, and I feel like apps, generally loyalty apps are the easiest and best way to get data on customers. And that's why a lot of brands, even smaller brands or emerging brands, really want to do that.
Absolutely.
And so besides what we've talked about today, let's look to 2025, 2026 and beyond. What are your priorities?
Still building out catering. That continues to evolve. There's some exciting things from that front. Really focusing on further developing our digital and our social platforms. Our ops team is constantly looking for ways to streamline the process in the restaurants, and yeah.
I think what's amazing in terms of you obviously focused so much on digital and digital technology is that even 5 years ago, I feel like talking about digital tech was a larger chains game.
Right.
You'd be talking about, okay, well, what is McDonald's doing? What is Wingstop doing? I mean, we still always talk about what Wingstop is doing,
That's right.
and obviously not all emerging chains have the opportunity to, create their own technology, but you cannot just sit back and relax, you can't rest on your laurels. It's really important. How important is it for Angry Chicks to kind of stay on top of the digital tech game?
You have to. Today, you have to. There's not an option to just kind of sit back and wait and see what everybody else is doing. You have to stay on the forefront of that, always looking for innovative ideas to meet to meet that same customer where they're at.
And so in about an hour, I'm going to be helping to moderate a session on why build or why buy. So building out your own proprietary technology or partnering with external vendors. Where do you guys fall on that?
That's the trick. If there was technology that existed that would already do everything that we needed it to do, then fine. Why invest in it? If there's not technology that does everything that we want it to do in a perfect world, then of course.
Yeah, and that's the problem, I think, is that it's easier to partner with external vendors, but at the same time, like you said, they might not have all the components or customizations that you need.
Right, that's the trick.
Yeah.
So if there's that one partner that could come to the table with everything we need, then they would be hands down the winner.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to find that unicorn. And so something else I just wanted to end on a great note here, because since you were one of our Hot Concepts winners last fall, and we loved featuring you guys. So what would you give to what advice would you give to the next class, let's say, of Hot Concepts winners, the next group of emerging restaurant brands that want to get to where Angry Chicks is today? What advice would you give them?
I would say stay authentic to who you are, always be passionate, and don't give up. Keep reinventing yourself until you get where you want to be.
Hey, that's great advice for me, and I'm an emerging chain. All right, great. Thank you so much for being here, Tonya. Really appreciate it.